agree with you there. But it's like I said, you get 7 new members in there and it's gonna be a little bit before they know what they're doing too.
It's true.
You know, I'll say it like me and you when we first got hired on, we weren't up to par on everything.
Well, it'll be a learning curve, but as it sits right now, having to work with that planning and zoning board is very dysfunctional. And if you want a county that's running functionally, it's away from a bad idea to start from scratch.
And then you gotta find people that are gonna be willing to do it.
That is true.
And that is not easy,
No, it's not.
especially finding anyone that doesn't have a conflict of interest at all.
Well, you
Really
may be
difficult.
surprised, I guess. I guess I look at county commission race, there were 8 people running, whereas prior to that, there probably weren't that many people running against everybody, but it may surprise you, I guess. I don't wanna be pessimistic about it, because we do need to find board members, let's be optimistic, and we may be surprised, maybe we'll have a bunch of people interested. And then you have your pick of the, how do you wanna put that?
But then I'm gonna ask another question, okay? Now with this planning and zoning, say say Mickey wants to do it, is that a conflict of interest?
Why would that be a conflict?
Well, I'm just asking.
I'm not asking you a legitimate.
Well, like, if my wife would wanna do it, would that be a conflict of interest because I'm a county commissioner and she wanted to be on the planning and zoning?
I don't think so.
But
It could
would
be
some people
construed
see
that
it?
way. It could be construed that way.
Right,
I mean, family
You know what I'm saying.
relationships, somebody that is related to, well,
Are you talking about appointing someone as a nepotism thing?
yes,
I mean, possibly.
to potentially promote a biased agenda. I mean, if you appointed your wife and you, whatever, you had an agenda, and you said, here, you're gonna do it,
and you can
and you
vote
have to
this
vote
way,
this way.
right,
It could be looked at like that, it
And
very
that's-
well could be.
and that's what I'm thinking about is, okay.
Any
my-
type of
My
family
wife ain't gonna
relationship.
agree with anything I say, so it doesn't matter.
Let's put her on then.
It could
That
be-
sounds like the perfect person.
Yeah.
We don't want.
I mean, you look at the family aspect, it doesn't have to be spouse, it could be son or daughter, it could be,
It could be a lot of things that influence the way they vote.
any sort of family relationship.
Don't
could be
even have
looked
to be
at.
family relationships.
Well, that
It's
is true,
across the whole board.
a relationship.
At
of
some point, you
sort.
have to assume that people can be adults and can think for themselves and act for themselves.
You have to hope for that.
And I told
That's all I'm gonna
Ross
say on that.
Not all of our county resident anymore, but, you know, rather listening to this, you guys appointed the board before you can an entire board. Basically, they kind of work with you, maybe have a come to Jesus meeting with them, lay out the facts that you guys are talking about now, let them guys
decide whether they
Decide.
wanna be on the board or not.
exactly, all the information that's going on around here, they should all be informed of on what's going on here right now. And basically, you guys lay out a come to Jesus speech and say, hey, you guys need to get on board. It sounds like there's an educational
they've-
opportunity here too.
They've been informed by me
Okay, but yeah,
at your direction.
I just see an educational
I
opportunity
I
here.
don't know that it did any good.
I don't
And
think
I
it did
have-
any good
I
because
had told some of them, you're gonna find out who your friends really are.
I mean, I don't think the advice I
And
gave
it
did
shouldn't
any
be that
good
way.
because they didn't follow my advice at me.
I like that idea though.
It's not a bad idea, if they listen.
Is that something we can do in
That's already been done.
Yeah,
But
Patrick.
it didn't come from you guys. I mean, I'm the new guy here, let's be honest, you know?
Oh, but-
But I guess where I'm coming from is listening to you guys, it sounds like you've got a pretty new board to start with, so how long have they all worked
I
together?
guess the
depends
question
on
would be,
which
what
member
message
you're-
do you send to them though? Because would that then appear as though you're trying to strong arm them into voting on one way or
I think it
another?
would.
You know, I don't know, this is such a complicated issue, it really is.
I think it would look a little bit biased, saying, we're gonna have a come to Jesus moment. You need to act accordingly, basically. It's gonna look
look like we don't trust anything you guys do or say.
Or you're trying to say if you don't do something, we're gonna can you.
Right, we're gonna get rid of you.
If you don't vote this way or that way, if you don't pass this, or if you don't deny this or whatever, it's gonna work bad.
You can leave the members there that are there and see what happens on the next one.
And by rights, it's up to us three to make the final decision anyway. We just go along with them.
We're gonna have that decision brought to us.
Right.
Respectfully, based on the last 2 meetings alone, but even from the last 6 months alone, I don't think waiting to see what happens is necessarily the right answer, because we've been working on this ordinance since last year. I mean, like consistently, it's been brought like 2 years ago now, but consistently for the last year or so.
I mean, you've been at every meeting, you said, right?
I don't know that it'll make a difference, and this is obviously me just expressing my opinion as the person that deals with them and works with them and has to be at these meetings with them. I'm not saying they're all bad members, I'm just saying that we have a very dysfunctional board and something needs to be fixed, and it's up to you guys to fix it.
I agree with what Lee says, well, if you're gonna do it, you gotta do them all.
Right.
And then, now you find 7 new members.
I think, the more I think about it, the only way we're gonna get anything done here is to keep that same board, because if we get rid of all of them, we can't replace the board for a long time.
What's the next one new, you know?
So I think we have
The
to hope
next
they come
meeting?
up with a legal vote the next go
I
around.
believe there's one person up for
I
term
think
next
it's the
year.
only route.
What if they do the
Just
same,
these two.
well, what ifs?
David, do you have something you want to say?
Well, as far as the city, you've only got Adam and,
We only get one of them.
Right.
right, but I mean,
Adam or Troy?
Troy's probably gonna be the one, right? It's too bad the city didn't appoint them last night,
Depends
cause
on
then you
their
guys could
work.
approve that today.
I mean,
Cause that's kind of been empty for a while now, as far as JR.
well, it was he was one meeting.
One meeting is all.
But he missed a couple when all this was going on. but
I
yeah.
mean, 6 board members is who you would have to replace, because the one would be coming from the city. And you do have to approve it, but you don't get to,
Well, let me throw one more iron into the fire, which is something you would say. Because you also have to think about long-term, about, is this the board is this the committee that you want long-term? It's beyond just this extraordinarily appropriate, important issue, yeah? I don't know, guys. Sorry
Like
to
I said,
complicate this.
That's all good
It's,
points, huh?
it's tough to find them to do it.
We gotta do something.
And I'm sure that board is getting tired of having an audience that just sits there and hounds them the whole time.
and I don't think that's gonna go away personally, I mean,
Well, it will
it's not,
after, it will after that.
if it's passed, or,
That's done.
you know, after that's
Or if it's
done,
not
or
passed,
if
it'll
it's
go
not,
away.
well,
Because then it's gonna end up in the courts one way or another.
it will,
Whether it's,
potentially.
you know, whether it's here, there.
But as far as an ordinance amendment goes, there are probably enough residents out there that will continue to bring it forward to be discussed. I don't think it's, I mean,
Well, at some point, I think the commission will have the right to put a moratorium on it.
They'll have these other counties that this pipeline's supposed to be coming through, have they denied them?
Morton County passed a moratorium on all CO2, well, I don't know if they're
Direct air
commissioned it.
capture,
Has that been challenged yet?
not yet, and it's only direct air capture. It hasn't been challenged because nobody's really doing it except the one project that was in the initial stages of, yeah.
And then, of course, Burley County has an
They haven't-
ordinance,
they've
Emmons
been
has an
moving.
ordinance. They have ordinances in place, but they're being challenged because of the state laws. But, I mean,
Well, let's give the board one more chance to meet, special meeting prior to that schedule normally.
It's not gonna change conflicts.
See Move a special meeting and see if they can lead a vote, and then they'd have something to bring to.
I mean, this is just me respectfully disagreeing with that, and that's, you guys as a board can vote on it, but that's not gonna change the issues that we have presently.
Right.
With the conflict, that's not gonna change the votes on who can vote and not vote, it's, I mean, it's not gonna change it. There's still gonna be disagreement and dysfunctional issues.
Well, on top of that, if the present board stays on, does that create another issue where this gives fuel to the proponents or opponents of this ordinance? Does that make sense? Yes. Sometimes I'm not.
Well, we can sit here all day and argue about it, or whatever, but we gotta do something.
I mean, unless we have a special meeting, you think on it over,
What would we do at a special notice to?
make a final decision, whether or not
Oh,
you're
for
gonna get
the-
rid of the mill or not. I
For
mean,
us,
yes. It gives you more than an hour
Made
or
my
so to think
recommendation.
on it, but
I was saying, you need to do it today.
Well, I agree with what Lee said, if you're gonna get rid of one, you better get rid of all of them, and start out fresh.
You really think it would be that hard with as many people that are passionate about this issue on both sides? You don't think it'd be that hard?
I really don't think it would be now. Maybe in the past it would have
In
been
the past,
because
we've
there
always
was a
had that.
controversial. I think there's more people out there willing to do something like this than there were previously. That's just my opinion, but I think there's more out there that would be willing to.
But then I'm gonna also say, now are you gonna find these people, it don't matter to me one way or another, but are you gonna find these people that are all against it? Or are you gonna find them so that it's still a fight in the middle?
The only way to know that is to find people and see how they vote. Because you can't interview them
No, you
and
can't.
say, what do you feel about this issue, what do you feel about that issue?
If they're interested in the position, if there's people that are willing to do it. I mean, there were two at the end of last year that didn't get appointed to the board that would be interested in doing it, so I.
They're mean little bastards, but they're nice.
Shut that door. It don't matter to me one way or another.
Well, if I see it in the ditch.
We're here more or less to listen to what they decide anyway.
I would go to one of the meetings.
I can just imagine. I think we watched
I mean, it's
part of the
bordering,
last one.
it's bordering on disorderly conduct at times. We've had members of the board that have been directly threatened for crying out loud.
Including commissioners.
Yes, sir.
I don't take threats well, so.
Why should you?
But exactly.
You don't strike me as someone that would.
Well, what do I do, guys? I move that we dismiss them all. Start over.
I just don't feel it's right. I mean, we didn't have a real hard time, but we had a hard time getting enough people to do it, you know. I feel that we should, I know what's gonna happen, you give them one more chance and it's gonna come back the same way.
We can give them one more chance a week, and we're not gonna find any replacements
No,
in
that's,
that sort of time.
You could order that a special session be held a week from now.
Yeah.
See what happens, I suppose, that would be.
A special session with money, I'm not gonna be there.
Be there, so that's gonna need
I have to be there.
to do the minutes and all that stuff.
I have to take the minutes, I'm required by law to be there, to take minutes for planning and zoning, and I'm also
You
planning and
can't find
zoning.
somebody else to take them?
How about you call a meeting, this week?
you don't have much time left.
Or are you going vacation?
No, I have the auditors conference, which is why.
Oh,
I'm
it's the
doing this
4th of
meeting
July,
today.
that's right, that's a stupid idea.
So you give them 2 weeks.
Give them-
What's the earliest you can get a special meeting, then.
Not next week, try the week after.
I don't mean to pipe in again, but I'm going to. If in fact you're gonna do the research on conflict of interest in the AG's office, I don't know if that gives you enough time to do that before that meeting. And I think that's critical before that meeting, if you're gonna keep the same commissioner, or board members. I will stop talking now.
Okay, 2 weeks.
You guys want to meet in 2 weeks, or you want planning and zoning to meet?
Planning and zoning committee.
That's 1 week prior to their next meeting.
Yep.
I will see if they're all available.
And we'll leave it at that then.
Okay, then if things don't change, then what, do we have a special meeting and see if we can appoint 7 new members? Or how many ever we need?
6.
Oh.
Well,
We
all
agree
of
with
them.
Daryl. All of
Yeah.
them, if it doesn't work out.
What a cluster.
Well, it should've never got that.
No.
We can't handpick the ones we're gonna get rid of.
No, we can't.
Because that's saying, hey,
We do that.
you're gonna vote that way, so we wanna get rid of you. We can't do that.
And you're
You
gonna
can't
vote
have a
this way and
combination
we don't want
meeting
to.
because it's the same thing.
So what is it that you want me to meet with them about?
Vote on,
See if they can get that passed through with a legal amount of votes.
I guess what I can't understand is why last week, after never abstaining and never doing that, nothing happened at the prior meeting that
Other than,
that should have done, and then the ordinance was brought back up, it was appropriately brought back up, it should have been heard. That's all I'm gonna say about this, because I'm not gonna put a record on what occurred in the executive session, cause it's confidential, no matter what anyone else says. But it's just,
If I could answer that, I think, Pat, going back to that, when Wyman and Ray were on there, kinda like she said, you could sit there for 2.5 hours. Now, Carly had been to some of them, and no decisions got made. Now you've got 2 people with conflicts or 5, and it's,
well, yeah,
where
but it was
before
never-
that, you didn't have, they weren't making decisions.
Well, no, there was conflicts for the last 6 months.
just since January.
Just the last 6 months, there were conflicts that have been discussed ever since I got here, because I
You just
made
started.
sure that they were discussed, because that's what the law requires in my humble opinion. And then, for the first time, people decided to abstain or not vote, or they voted to not vote. But nothing changed at all.
Well, to start with, they voted, or they talked about it, and then this one said, yeah, you can go ahead and vote, and this one said, well, yeah, you can.
Right,
go ahead
but it was the same discussion, my understanding is what was discussed at the last
This
planning and
last-
zoning meeting is the exact same discussion that's been had about the disclosure of conflicts, what the conflicts are.
Mhm.
And now all of a sudden we have someone being prohibited from being able to vote, and now all of a sudden we have 2 abstentions.
I guess you're,
Like, that's to me, logically, that makes no sense other than an attempt to frustrate the voting of it itself.
well, Jaden, set up the date as soon as you get back, whenever, as soon as possible.
Will do my best. See if they can meet, I'll send them something today. We may need some guidance as to how you would like me to appropriately address everything, but
What do you mean?
as far as this meeting, if we're going to address their conflicts of interest, if that's what you're requesting.
Oh, no, they're always addressed.
Right.
But now, but here's the okay, so here's the problem, you have somebody alleging that somebody is withholding a conflict of interest on that board. That's a serious, serious allegation.
oh, it's not. The conflict is there, I mean, the conflict isn't there for that particular individual.
Right. But the allegation has been made by other board members.
Right.
How do you get past that? And then that again, that's misinformation, right?
Left up to the 2-year-olds.
Well, there was a motion that there was a motion that was made by Daryl to remove the board.
This is true, you did make a motion.
Is there, that has to be addressed, is there a second or not?
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? Motion dies because of lack of a second.
Do I have any specific direction from the board about whether I need to be at the next planning and zoning?
I wish you would be there.
Is that your directive?
Yes.
Okay. No, this is not something the state's attorney should be having. And I'm not complaining or crying about it, it just isn't,
It's just something that you don't think you need to be there.
But I'm thinking if you're there, you can kind of guide them a little bit better than we can, you know.
but
And I know you've tried in the past.
I really have.
I think you need to be there to tell them, at the meeting, a decision has to be made on this.
So
Well, I
we-
can't say that, I can't tell them they have to vote.
But maybe you can.
Can't tell them what to
explain
do.
No, a decision has to be made.
I can gently explain the issue as I did here today. That I can.
Okay, good. So, whatever works for you.
This ordinance that you have sent back, do I need to properly notice it within the 2 weeks for the July 25th meeting? Or do we hold it off because of this whole issue we're having? That's what I need to know, because if I need to do that, I need to get that to the paper.
No,
Now.
it needs to go back before the committee because it's been sent back before the committee.
Correct, but it
So
does.
the
need
issue,
to have
the issue isn't, the motion here was made today to dissolve the committee that failed.
Yes,
Therefore, the ordinance goes back to the committee for a vote, and we hope that they vote on it this time. Right? Am I understanding you correctly?
Yep.
With the right number of people.
With the sufficient number of people, which is a quorum, not 2 people.
and that would be for the July 25th. Cause I need to put it in the paper 2 weeks ahead of time, because it's a public hearing for an ordinance, correct?
Only if it
I mean,
passes.
that is my
And
question.
Here's the thing, so it has to pass first. Is there no way we can have this meeting next week, or even later this week, or, your job is to take minutes. Is there no one you can delegate to do that?
I can ask Patty if she's here. I mean,
See, we're coming up on the 4th, that's kind of.
we've got
Right,
the
I'm talking
holiday
about
this
next
week,
week.
next
I'm
week,
talking-
I mean,
Who for this?
You have a right to go on vacation, no one's saying
well, I'm
that.
not on vacation, it's work.
Oh, well, even
It's
better.
a conference.
Good.
I'm not going on vacation.
Well, where's the conference? Just
It's
like-
out in Fargo.
Could you take notes by appearing remotely?
Well, I'm sure I could try. Most definitely could certainly try.
Could we
I mean,
set up I'm gonna be here, I could just set up a Zoom conference and.
That's the question. I will have to see what board members have available. I mean, I can't say, hey, we're having a meeting this day, you have to be here. They all have jobs as well. So that's where we're running into. I'm not trying to fight anybody on this. I'm trying to say that each of these board members also has lives and things that they need to do as well. And they get $45 for being at a meeting, and that's, if they have things to do, I can't say, too bad, you
Well,
have to be
Let's see
here.
what you can get lined up, I think.
Yeah, if it's a matter of you appearing remotely, we can make that happen. I got a good computer.
Well, and that's
and
fine, I don't
good
have an
microphone.
issue with that, I'm just logistics wise trying to put it in my head that these board members may not be able to attend either. So
Well,
I'm
we've had
trying to-
other very short notice meetings with the planning and zoning board.
Right,
See what you can come up with.
I will send an email as soon as we're done with this meeting, and we'll get
We're
figured out.
moving on a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, that issue done now?
I hope so.
I got nothing more.
Okay,
Well,
we haven't gone through Jaden's budget review,
Kyle's budget,
and we haven't gone through Kyle's budget review.
Neil's the only one.
and mine too.
You got yours too?
Yeah.
I'm just, where you're at.
I'm
this
on
that?
very
What is-
good.
what is-
Kyle,
Go to
you
Kyle.
guys are open to Kyle's already.
That's what I missed.
Which one is Kyle's? The reserve?
Roads,
Roads.
we've got. Oh, yeah.
Piper Road,
Unorganized.
Road and Bridge,
Yeah, it's all,
unorganized roads?
Yeah.
There's some-
it's all of them.
Okay, special roads first.
So special roads really isn't a budgeted item, it's just that we had a levy for that and we're still getting prior year's taxes, so we have to put a budget into the system for it. We're not gonna get that much money for special roads, cause we don't levy for it because it's an expired levy, so that's just a, yeah,
Okay, unorganized roads.
that is yours.
Anything major you're going to do, Kyle?
No, not really.
Glancing down here, I see nothing major so far.
Not in the, yeah. Cause the bridge project and that stuff, that got pushed off, you know, so we don't really have anything.
Oh, everything looks pretty much normal, slight increase here and there. Questions on special roads, or unorganized roads, I should say. Okay, no questions for the road and bridge,
That's the same situation, it's an in and out.
okay? No change, no. Highway tax. No increase, no major increase, no, okay.
Just trying to keep ahead of some of the increases they keep adding.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Hard to do.
It is, you don't know, it keeps changing, yeah.
Okay, so Kyle has nothing major changes for the budget, so let's go to Gordon's.
So the fee.
Jaden got the whole,
If you don't mind hanging on, I've got a few more items.
Yep.
Unless you wanna discuss those. then-
Go ahead.
Okay.
okay, we can do that because we can get to Jaden, okay, well, let's go with.
Oh, which one?
Kyle and talk about
We can go
issues,
back.
okay, before that, okay.
I can't go anywhere, so.
Okay, we got, first of all, before I forget, bridge by Orgards, by Larry Orgards, supposed to have a
Big hole in it.
big hole in it, big washout, dangerous situation. And he said he left a message for you
Just gravel.
to check it out. He said it could be a hazard.
Talking on the road or is it?
Yeah, he said the
It's
first
off the
bridge
edge, off
east
the
of
edge of
his
the road.
place.
Off the edge of the road.
I think that's what he said to
Yep.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the hole's right on the edge and we just have the gravel down here.
He said this was,
It's not a pretty good size.
Okay, well,
Then another question is, another question that he had was why do we have a recorder at the shop if nobody checks it, calls them back? Put it on the phone.
Another question he asked was, why is there ground on the road? He said there's water sitting in it.
Yeah, down by his place, we ain't done gravel in there yet. They're still down there. From his place to the west. There. We did one stretch, then, Marvin was gone. Then I pulled him out of there for a couple of days and then,
And it rained.
well, yeah. Rain and, yeah.
Couple other things, Kyle, that we got a issue with is Austin, Sherry and Kyle working the same place. Kind of a nepotism thing.
Can't we do like we did before?
And we do-
Put him under Dennis and
Put him under what?
put him under Dennis?
How do you put him under Dennis?
The watch over him.
Well, I'm not worried about that. Does Sherry really need it down there yet? I mean,
Probably not.
To start with, it was only supposed to be a couple months to help you.
Whichever, I guess.
Well, that's what I mean, if you need somebody, that's a different story, but I think it's,
I need both, I need help on the other end worse than, but, you know, to keep everything else going.
another question that I've had numerous calls on was never answering, or not answering the phone, and did you ever get a, outfit, can't think what they call them now, to put in the pickup so you can receive a little better?
I just getting one here, so.
Okay.
But yesterday I was out right beside the shop and,
Didn't work, huh?
yeah, Kenny tried 3-4 times and all of a sudden it went through, whatever.
And you need to get a different phone.
I don't understand it, why it says you got not connected to any network.
Don't feel bad, Kyle, I get the same thing.
You're not helping much.
I know, because I get the same thing. They say I called you 3 times and my phone was on and it didn't go
So
through.
let me ask you another question.
Is it-
$5.
I have,
Go ahead.
is the upgrade in the phone system we're doing here also something that could be upgraded for his
Yeah.
shop?
For the shop phone,
For the shop, good, but
but not the cell phone.
that's,
That cell phone coverage is rough out here, no question.
But it said yesterday, I was
Sorry, I
standing right
interrupted.
beside the shop there, and why, it says you got a new connection. And he called somebody else and I answered it through him.
so last week, 2 days, were you gone for with Case?
Yep.
You never thought to ask anybody, or, I mean, nobody would've said no. Nobody was in charge of the,
They all were lined up to do what they had.
nobody was in charge of the county, because I've got many calls, which I normally don't get. I tried to get ahold of you and couldn't get you. Anytime you are not in that shop area, or you're doing something else, you need to put somebody in charge. And I don't care who it is, what it is, and like I said, I would never say no to you going to one of these things, but you need to kinda start communicating a little better.
Well, and it also going fairly quick.
Well, I believe it did, so does Butler's all the time. They come back
This
pretty
one,
fast. Well, you
Yeah.
could've called. I'm just saying,
That's where communication is real important.
it's very important. I'll leave it at that. I'll let you decide what you wanna do there with, if you need her, let us know. Figure something out. I'm not worried about any of it, it's brought to my attention, you know.
And it was brought to mind too. So you just need to, okay, Marvin, you're in charge, I'm gonna be gone for a day,
well, yeah.
you know, or you're gonna be gone for 2 days, put somebody in charge.
Somebody
Our-
call and talk to me, please.
Or let Daryl be in charge, or Lee be in charge, or me be in charge, just put somebody in charge, but it's somebody that should be down there that knows what's going on. Cause me and Daryl don't know what's going on all the time, we don't know what's going on down there, we don't know what you got planned. And I think most of the workers know what should be done, but if nobody's in charge, nobody,
Yeah.
it's like everybody else, they're not gonna grab the bull by the horns and turn it, you know, they're just gonna go, hey, my business, you know,
That's their
That's
charge.
normal.
yeah,
That's any job.
Yeah.
it's any job, so,
I don't care where it's at, they're gonna
Right.
do that.
so just
Carrying
put
somebody around, right?
just put somebody in charge for the
Even
day.
if you put somebody there, it's not gonna change.
Well, if you have an emergency,
Yeah, that one.
that way, that's what I was looking at, that's kinda what we were, somebody that called me asked about it. Cause the storm was coming in and stuff, they were more worried about getting trees knocked out of the yard and who's gonna move them and this type, you know, that type of thing, but. So, but somebody's gotta be in charge, I don't care. So. That's all I got.
Anything Kyle, anything major?
Nope, just trying to get some roads gravel, trying to get them bladed and.
So the gravel
Rain every
situation,
other day and, yeah.
how is the gravel situation? We have
far
a
as-
lot,
What's that?
we have a lot of gravel,
On hand, you mean? We've got a fair pile. After the fourth, we're supposed to go up and check that other one up north up there, yeah. Cause she was gonna be around, but she didn't know exactly what, so she asked us after the fourth if she could come in and check after that, so.
have you ever checked that area up by Dave Berger's, by Kenny Ranke's, where they have gravel available? Am I right, Dave?
Yeah, like Kenny says, he's got a lot, but
Yeah.
nobody's ever dug into it. He had mentioned to Bruce Nelson way back. And, you know, of course, that got lost.
Just your stuff there that we talked about, but,
Yeah,
but you were going around and around with B and I to figure
Yeah.
out what's going on with that.
right.
That
But
was
with
the one.
Kenny's, I guess that'd be something to look at, but I've never
I don't know what he's.
even driven over there myself, but it's a kind of you aren't gonna drive over there now, very decent with all the mud holes. But, yeah, something to look at.
Yeah.
So that is a
Didn't know
possible
nothing about
area
it.
for more gravel, plus down by
Lyman Sheets.
Lyman
Yeah.
Sheets area,
Next week too.
And
Carl Fickle land or whatever.
Yeah, Carmen Hickle said they got
Carmen,
gravel,
She's
but
not
I,
living, she's not living on it, we live in.
no, but she said they got gravel, but I don't know where it's at.
Yeah, I don't have what I know.
Rob Schmidt has a pretty good idea. I talked to him about it. And then like I mentioned to Kyle before Lee was in here, you know, that stuff that they put on the hill. So you were talking more sand because it's so much
Well,
clay.
yeah, probably have to add some sand to that spot, it must have been.
Yeah, where do you find?
Spots, yeah.
I just because I heard the semi spun out, so that was a concern when, Rod Meckley called. The hill was pretty slippery because it was, well, it must have been right after you